Imagine a quiet night, the kind where the world seems to hold its breath, but your mind refuses to rest. The clock glows softly, ticking past midnight, and yet you lie awake, thoughts spiraling like leaves caught in a restless wind. What if I'm not good enough? Whispers a voice within. What if I fail? This is the weight of stress, an unseen chain that binds us, pulling us into the shadows of self-doubt. It's a burden so many carry in this fast-moving world where deadlines loom, comparisons sting, and the heart aches for peace. Tonight, let's step gently into a story, a journey to unravel this chain, to find clarity amid the chaos. Let's walk with a woman named Ilara, whose heart, like yours, seeks a moment of stillness. She's a graphic designer, her days filled with the hum of city life, client emails, endless notifications, the pressure to prove herself. At night, her mind replays every moment she feels she fell short. Why can't I keep up? She wonders, her thoughts heavy as stones. This is where we begin, in the quiet ache of her heart, a place so familiar to us all. In the wisdom of the Buddha, there's a truth called anatta, the idea that the self we cling to, the one we judge and measure, is not as solid as it seems. Our stress, our doubts, they grow from grasping at this idea of who we should be, rather than resting in who we are. Ilara doesn't know this yet, but her path is about to shift. She's about to step into a forest, a place where the whispers of ancient wisdom will guide her toward freedom. As we follow her, let's breathe slowly, letting the weight of the day soften, letting the story carry us forward. Ilara's car sputtered to a stop on a quiet road, far from the city's glow. The engine's hum faded, leaving only the rustle of leaves and the weight of her thoughts. She'd been driving to escape another long day of deadlines, another client email demanding revisions, another moment of feeling like she wasn't enough. With no signal on her phone, she stepped out, her backpack slung over her shoulder, heavy with more than just her laptop and sketchbooks. It carried her worries, her fears, her endless list of shoulds. The forest loomed ahead, its trees tall and ancient, their branches weaving a canopy that seemed to whisper her doubts. Asterisk, you're falling behind. You'll never be enough. She walked, not knowing why, her steps hesitant but drawn forward, as if the forest itself called to her. Deeper in, the light dimmed and her breath grew shallow. She slumped against a gnarled tree, exhaustion settling like dust. That's when she saw him, a monk in saffron robes, his face calm as a still lake, his eyes kind but piercing. He didn't speak at first, only gestured for her to follow. Something in his presence felt like a thread of hope, so she rose and walked beside him. You carry a heavy burden, he said softly, his voice like a breeze through the trees. Ilara glanced at her backpack, then back at him. It's just my life, she said. The work, the expectations, the fear I'm not doing enough. The monk's smile was gentle, like sunlight breaking through clouds. The Buddha taught us the Four Noble Truths, he said. First, there is suffering, dukkha, the weight you feel. Second, it has a cause, you're clinging to what you think you must be. Third, there is an end to this suffering. And fourth, there is a path to freedom. Ilara's brow furrowed. But how do I find that path? She asked. The monk pointed to a faint glow ahead, where the trees parted. Walk with me, he said. Let's see what your heart holds. As they moved forward, the forest seemed to soften, as if inviting her to lay down her load, to listen to the wisdom waiting within. The forest opened to a clearing where a pool of water lay still, reflecting the stars like a mirror to the heavens. The monk paused, his robes catching the faint light. "This is the mirror of your mind," he said, his voice soft as a whisper on water. "Look closely, Ilara." She knelt by the pool, expecting to see her own face-tired eyes, furrowed brow. Instead, images flickered across the surface. A client's sharp email, her design rejected again. A friend's perfect life on social media. Her mother's voice asking why she hadn't called. Her chest tightened, her breath caught. "This is why I can't sleep," she murmured. "I'm failing at everything." The monk sat beside her, his presence steady as an ancient tree. "What you see are thoughts, not truths," he said. In the Buddhist teaching, we learn mindfulness, to observe the mind's waves without being swept away. He guided her to sit, to close her eyes, to feel the cool air on her skin. "Breathe," he said. "Watch each thought as it comes, like a leaf on this water. Let it float, let it pass." Ilara tried, her mind restless at first. "I'm not good enough," a thought insisted. Asterisk, "I'll never get it right." But as she breathed, slow and deep, the thoughts began to drift, their edges softening. The monk spoke again. "The Buddha taught anicca, impermanence. Your doubts, your fears, they arise and fade like ripples. They are not you." Ilara opened her eyes, the pool now calm, reflecting only stars. For the first time, she felt a flicker of lightness, as if the chain of self-doubt had loosened. The monk handed her a small, smooth stone. "Hold it lightly," he said. "Your thoughts are like this stone. Grasp them tightly, and they weigh you down. Hold them gently, and you are free." She turned the stone in her hand, its coolness grounding her, her heart quieter than it had been in years. The forest seemed to breathe with her, its whispers now gentle, urging her onward. Dawn's first light filtered through the trees, painting the clearing in hues of gold and soft pink. Ilara sat by the pool, the stone still in her hand, its weight a reminder of the monk's words. She felt a shift, subtle but real, as if the forest itself was teaching her to breathe again. The monk's eyes met hers, warm with understanding. "There is a proverb," he said, his voice like a melody carried on the morning breeze, "that says, asterisk, the heaviest burden is the one you carry in your mind." Ilara let the words settle, feeling their truth echo in her chest. Her stress, her self-doubt, they weren't just from late nights at her desk or the endless scroll of others' lives. They came from the stories she told herself, that she had to be perfect, that she had to prove her worth. The monk leaned forward, his gaze steady. In the Buddha's wisdom, we learn non-attachment, not to stop caring, but to stop letting the world's demands define you. When you cling to ideas of success or fear of failure, you build a cage in your mind. Ilara thought of her sleepless nights, the weight of every should she carried. I should work harder, be better, be more. The monk seemed to sense her thoughts. To let go, he said, is to see that your worth is not in what you do, but in who you are right now in this moment. The proverb sank deeper, like a seed finding fertile ground. For Ilara, it meant releasing the need to be the flawless designer, the ever-present friend, the daughter who never disappointed. For all of us, it speaks to the burdens we carry: comparisons, expectations, the fear we're not enough. As the sun rose higher, the monk's words lingered, a gentle invitation to set down what was never meant to be held so tightly, to make space for peace. The forest path wound deeper, the air cool and alive with the scent of earth and moss. Alara walked beside the monk, her steps lighter now, though the weight of her backpack still tugged at her shoulders. He paused and reached into his robe, pulling out a small, tangled ball of thread, its knots twisted and tight. "Your mind is like this," he said, placing it in her hands. "Pull too hard, and the knots grow tighter. Be patient, and they unravel." His words carried an ancient truth, an idiom that seemed to hum with the forest's quiet wisdom. Untangle the thread, and the knot will dissolve. Alara turned the thread over, her fingers tracing its chaos. She thought of her spiraling thoughts, deadlines, doubts, the fear of falling short, each one a knot tightening her heart. The monk sat on a nearby stone, his voice soft as falling leaves. In the Buddhist teaching, we call this asterisk. Right view asterisk, seeing things as they are, not as your fears paint them. Your self-doubt is a knot, born of clinging to what you cannot control. He guided her to sit, to breathe, to focus on the thread. Name each thought as it comes, he said. Fear, worry, doubt. Let them pass like clouds. Alara began to work at the thread, her fingers slow, deliberate. As she did, she named her thoughts aloud. Asterisk, I'm not enough. I'll fail. With each name, the knot in her chest loosened, the thread in her hands easing. The monk spoke of karma, the truth that every action shapes the path. Each mindful breath, each moment of clarity is a step toward freedom, he said. For Alara and for us, the idiom is a guide, our stress, our doubts, our knots we can untangle, not by force, but by patience, by seeing clearly, by choosing small, intentional acts that lead us back to ourselves. The forest glowed with midday light, the trees parting as if to celebrate Alara's quiet transformation. She walked with the monk, the tangled thread now looser in her hands, her heart steadier than it had been in months. The path felt less like a maze and more like an invitation, each step a chance to see herself anew. The monk's voice wove gently into the moment, grounding her further. The Buddha's noble eightfold path offers steps to freedom, he said, his words like a soft current carrying her forward. Right mindfulness, right concentration, right effort, these are not grand gestures, but small acts of presence. He paused, pointing to a single flower breaking through the earth, its petals reaching for light. Like this flower, you grow one moment at a time. Alara thought of her life back in the city, the endless emails, the pressure to perform, the comparisons that stole her peace. How do I carry this calm into my world? She asked. The monk smiled. Begin with your breath, he said. Sit for 5 minutes each morning, noticing its rise and fall. Write your thoughts in a journal, not to judge them, but to see them clearly. When you scroll through others' lives, pause, choose to honor your own path. These steps felt simple, yet profound, like seeds planted in her mind. For all of us, they are a bridge from ancient wisdom to modern life. Try a daily mindfulness practice. Sit quietly, breathe, let thoughts pass like leaves on a stream. Or keep a notebook, naming your fears. I'm not enough, and letting them rest on the page. Limit the noise of comparison, perhaps by setting boundaries with social media. Alara imagined herself back at her desk, pausing before reacting to a harsh email, breathing before doubting her work. As she stepped toward the forest's edge, her backpack felt lighter, the world brighter. She was learning to see stress not as a trap, but as a signal to return to herself, to choose clarity over chaos, one gentle step at a time. The forest edge shimmered where sunlight met open sky, and Ilara paused, her heart full yet quiet. The monk stood beside her, his presence like a steady root in the earth. She looked back at the path they'd walked, the shadows of doubt, the mirror of her mind, the untangled thread, and saw not an end, but a beginning. "Your journey doesn't stop here," he said, his voice soft as a final note in a lullaby. "Each moment is a chance to choose peace." Ilara nodded, thinking of the Buddhist teaching, to live in the present moment, to meet each breath with awareness. Back in her city life, she'd faced the same pressures, deadlines, expectations, the whisper of self-doubt, but now she carried tools, a proverb to lighten her mind, an idiom to untangle her fears, a practice to anchor her heart. For you listening now, this is your invitation. The weight of stress, the pull of doubt, they're not your destiny. Take one small step today, a deep breath as you wake, a moment to name a thought and let it pass, a pause to see yourself with kindness. Picture Ilara stepping out of the forest, her eyes bright with possibility. You, too, are on this path, weaving ancient wisdom into the fabric of your days. As you drift toward sleep tonight, let this story linger a reminder that freedom is not far, but here, in this breath, this heartbeat, this moment. Begin where you are, with one gentle act of courage, and let it carry you forward, step by step, into a life of greater peace.